Hello and welcome to another LTP. That's a Learn to Paint with Mike. We're actually not painting today. I'm going to be doing some construction. The other day I played a demo game of a game called Gates of Antares, or Beyond the Gates of Antares, and ended up, the demonstrator gave me a couple sprues of minis so that I could check them out, and so here we are. That's what we're going to be doing today. And I've constructed one, and I'm going to continue working on the others. I'm mostly going to be working on these human guys. I do have another sprue with some big old alien hulking dudes, but that's not my goal today. Apparently there was some tape on that sprue. Okay, so here we are. We have this fellow. He's already done. Let's see if I can get that to focus a little bit. So he's already done. And we're going to continue working. Here we have the front of a torso. I've actually already cleaned this one up. And so now I need a back side of the torso. Now, previous to this, my only miniature wargaming and modeling experience has been with Privateer Press and War Machine / Hordes. So cutting things, so those don't come in sprues like this. So removing the bits and pieces off of the sprues is kind of a new experience for me. I mean, I've made other models before, so it's not drastically different. And it kind of seems like a waste of plastic. Like maybe they could melt that down, reuse it on the next set of models or something. But maybe you'd have to pay somebody to remove models from sprues. So I'm just using this hobby knife. It's actually pretty dull and well used. I haven't replaced the blade in a long time. Once I remove the pieces off the sprues, then I clean off the little parts that were attached. So here we are. Now we've got a head. I'm going to remove this little bit of, I don't know if you call it flashing or whatever, but I'm not seeing a lot of mold lines. So it's got these sprues, but there's not any big ugly lines across the model. Move some of these flight bases out of here. They'll be for the drone pieces that are part of this sprue. Alright, we've got two halves of a torso, we've got some legs, we've got a head. So now let's put some arms on. Here's one arm. And here's our other arm. So I'll clean off this little bit. Smooth that out a little bit. This one only has one little mold line. Or not mold line, one little connection point. There we go, there's the other one. Take this off just a little bit. go. Looks like we got a little bit inside there. Let's see if we can. Here we go. All right, I've got all of our pieces. Now it's time to put them together. So with these, I'm going to start with the torso. They fit together just like that, almost like a puzzle. And there we are. Take my handy dandy Game Haven rebranded super glue, stick it on there, stick it on there. Now we'll put them together. It appears I got a little bit obscuring this detail up here. I don't want that, because that might show up. We'll see. Alright, and then next I'm going to use these legs. Now I'm going to rough up the surface here just a little bit so that the super glue has something to connect up to. And same here. I'm just going to put some little cuts into the plastic. Oh, blob of super glue. And there we go. Put it on there. Now I'm going to hold that with my one hand and use this instant set stuff so that it sets up quickly. There we go. We've got one torso bit done. Okay. Now we're gonna connect up the arm. Again, scratching that up just a little bit. Oh, there we go. That didn't quite work, did it? Alright, we're going to try that again. This time I'm going to rough up the edges just a little bit. So with these hollow model pieces, there's actually not a lot of contact points between the two pieces, so there we go. Hold it together. I'm going to zap it. And this time I'm going to hold it together a little bit longer. And here we are. And now I've glued my finger to it. There we go. Alright. Now this game was a lot of fun, partly because I took my daughter along for the demo. She's 8 years old, and the demonstrator was kind enough to show us both. It was kind of a daddy-daughter date night, and she had a blast. It's actually a fairly simple rule set. Now before I start going on about that, here I am just roughing up this edge again so that get a lot of surface area. I'll put up that little drop of stuff here. Oop. Actually, that's a pretty big drop of stuff. So I'm going to take my rag, Kleenex or tissue, whatever you want to call it, There we go. And now we're going to put this right on there. I'm going to hold it here for just a minute. But like I was saying, took my daughter to the friendly local game store. That's the Game Haven. You can see that I use their glue. I mean, it's the same glue as everybody else, but that's where I typically will play games, and that's where our weekly War Machine group is. But the demonstrator came and showed us how it works. It was simple enough that my daughter was able to get it. Now, we only played by the most basic of the rules. And I need to match this up so that the arm actually matches up with the hand there. Okay, now I'll hold it like this for just a minute. Maybe I'll gab on a little bit more. So it uses 10-sided dice. And in the basic rules, we just ran a quick demo where there were 2 squads of these little humanoid guys. I guess they're actually humans. Let me spray that wrist connection real quick. Okay. And their task was to get to a disabled drone, or I guess maybe it was a tank, or I don't know. My daughter knows it as a droid because we're big Star Wars fans, so we were trying to get to the big crashed droid before the big aliens came and took it from us. And essentially, each model, now we were using a chart with the model descriptions. I have this guy looking off to the right a little bit, because this guy's looking left. You're gonna have his buddy looking right. Okay. Now we're gonna take this base and remove this little flashing sprue marks off of it. Just make sure that there's no extra. And I'm going to put a little dab of the glue on the foot. And I'm going to put him right there so that his center of mass is roughly center. So his foot's going to be back here, but most of his mass is going to be centered on the piece. It's fairly easy put together. This plastic bonds very well with this super glue that I'm using. So let's continue. Now it looks like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 more guns, and one's a big fancy gun, different from these other guns. And we have 1 unmasked head. All the rest are masked. We've got 4. Only got 1, 2, 3 legs and 3 full torsos. So it looks like there's a little bit of customization available. Now, I think what I want to do, I'm going to put together this sergeant model. I'm going to call him the sergeant. Oh, do I want an open face? Let me look at this face. It doesn't look too bad. But actually, I think I want a closed helmet. All the torsos are the same. Doesn't look like there's any kind of fancy torso. We're gonna put the sergeant with these legs. I don't know. No, we'll do the spread legs. Looks like we've got a little bit of resistance here. So just go through that. There we go. There's our legs. Then to distinguish the sergeant, he's just going to have the fancy gun. And maybe a slightly different paint scheme. I'm thinking of doing something similar to Star Wars or the Clone Wars or something like that, where the base armor is kind of the same. And I poked out two front halves of the torso, not a front and back half. So I'll have to set that aside so that it doesn't get lost. Alright, we've got our two halves of the torso, we've got our two arms, and our legs, and our head. Okay. Now while I clean up these little flashing pieces, or is that what they're called? Flashing? Anyway, while I clean them up, I was going to continue talking about our Beyond the Gates of Antares adventure. So we were using essentially a demo setup where we weren't using the full rules. And I'm excited to learn all the full rules. It kind of looks like it's a fun, kind of fast, simple skirmish level war game. So you roll the D10s for all of your checks, whether that's to shoot your gun or overcome the psychology aspects of the game. And that part was the part I really liked, was the psychology. That you didn't necessarily have to kill the guys you were shooting at. That if you hit them and didn't even do any damage, they would still take, call it psychological damage, or they would essentially hit the dirt, and they would you'd have to make a roll in order to continue to take normal actions to recover from your shock. I don't even remember what that meant. I'll call it shock, but maybe it was a different mechanic name. Anyway, so each of the squads had their own stats in a little. Let's see if I can get this to focus up here. Oh, there we go. Okay. And so the goal of this scenario was there were two squads of these humans, just like the ones that I'm assembling now. And they started right in the middle, like their drop zone was a circle in the middle of the board. And then approaching from one side of the board were these big power armor brutes. I mean, just big old guys. And on the side of the table opposite of where the brutes were deployed was this tank, or probe, or droid, or whatever. And so in order for the humans to win, they needed to get the tank and then get back to the center, call it the drop zone, or rally point, or exit point. I think maybe they got beamed in like Star Trek, so it's like the teleporter zone. And then the big brutes were just trying to kill off the humans. And there was a time limit. Like we only had 5 rounds to play. And then if the tank and the humans were inside the drop point at the end, they won. But if the humans were not inside the drop point, or dead, then they lost. And it's fairly simple, so every squad had its own rules. So like, these humans were all in squads of 5. So I had two squads of 5 humans, and then their rule set was something like, for every warrior model in the group, you could roll 1 attack dice when you shot. And so you'd activate your group, and then whoever was left alive would be able to shoot. But then the big brutes, even though there were only two brutes in each of their squads, each of them got 3 shots. So at the start of the game, it was kind of even as far as the number of shots each squad would get, whether they were human or... I keep calling them brutes. I should learn their names. But then the humans died quicker, because 1 shot, and they don't have much armor, and so they would pick off models quicker. And as a result, their offensive capacity would drop for every model that got taken down. Actually, maybe I should have had him like looking off to the side. Oh, well, he's glued. Yeah, I guess that's what happens when you just assemble and don't plan. Anyway, we ended up winning. We kept 1 squad just right in the drop zone, and we sent the other zone, or sorry, the other squad to get the probe. Had a lot of fun. And there were 3 2-man squads of the big brutes. And so we were outnumbered for sure until we picked up the probe, or the tank, because it had 2 shots of its own. Big, heavy shots. And I don't think we took out a full squad of the brutes. We did end up hitting them enough times, so even though we didn't cause enough wounds for them be taken off the table. The psychology effects of the game were such that they were pinned. And there we go. There's our sergeant. Anyway, that's it for now. We've reached the total length of this video. This is the first video. It's January 1st, 2017, and this is the first video in my effort to broadcast or upload a video every single day, and so that will be both on the this YouTube channel. I also plan on broadcasting live on Twitch, and as soon as I have all that figured out, I'll put all of the information necessary into the notes so that you can find me in both locations. And thank you for joining me. This has been Mike with LTP, and that's the Living Table Productions. And if you liked, please like. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. And we will see you next time. End transmission.